Hi guys, I am Chakwa Dangeni with Maths XYZ, and today we'll be doing a lesson on congruency triangles. So with congruency triangle, that's where everything in the two triangles, they are exactly the same to each other. That means that the angles inside the triangle are equal on both triangles, and also the sides in the triangle, they are also equal to each other. And the sign for congruency in triangles is these three lines. It shows that the two triangles are congruent to each other. Remember, in our previous lesson we were dealing with similar triangles, of which only the angles in the triangle should be equal to each other, and then the corresponding side should be proportional to each other. But then with the case of congruency, also the sides should be equal to each other. So here we have two triangles here. The first rule of congruency, of which in these two triangles here, this side is equal to that side, and this side is equal to this side here, and that side is equal to that side here. So that is the reason for congruency, that side, of which the reason for congruency in this case is side. That means that all the sides are equal in the two triangles. So that is the first one that proves that this, if the triangles or the sides on two triangles are equal to each other, that means that the triangles are congruent to each other. For example, if this side was 2 and this side was 2, and here we have 4 meter, for example, so also write the SI unit here. So, and this is 3 meter and that's 3 meter. So these two triangles here, they are congruent to each other, and the reason for that is side. Alright, and then moving on to the second one, which is this one here, of which in this case here we have two sides which are equal to each other, and also the included angle. So this side here is equal to this side here, and this side is equal to that side here. So let's say this is 2 meter and that's 2 meter. So if this is 4 meter, then this will also be 4 meter, and our included angle there, it's also the same on both this on this two triangles. So for example, if this was 86 degrees and also this is 86 degrees, so the included angles will also be equal. So in this case here, the reason for congruency in this type of triangles is side angle side. So this is the reason for congruency, that is side angle side. So if you find a triangle of which the two sides and an included angle are equal on both two triangles, then that's a good reason for saying that the two triangles are congruent to each other. And the reason for that, you must always show that it's side angle side. Alright, so also remember that it should always be the included angle which is equal on both triangles. For example, in this case, if the angle here which was equal on these two triangles, it was this one. Let's say this was 40 degrees and this is 40 degrees as well. And here we have, let's say, 76 degrees, for example. Alright, so I'll just erase this. So let's say this angle here, it was 76 degrees, and this one is 86, and that's 40, and that's 40. So here we have two sides which are equal to each other, and we also have another angle here which is 40 degrees on both two triangles. But in this case here, these two triangles won't be congruent to each other because it's not in the included angle. So you should always take into consideration that the angles which are equal to each other is the included angle. If it's not the included angle, then they are not congruent to each other. So for this case here, it won't be congruent if it's this 40 degrees which are equal to each other and not the included angle. Alright, so for this one, first rule is side, the included angle, and the other side. So if it's any other angle which is not the included angle, just know that the two triangles, they're not congruent to each other. Alright, so the reason for this one is side angle side, and the first one, remember, all sides are equal, which the congruency, the reason for that is side. Alright, and then moving on to the other two on the other side, of which here, alright, so we have these two triangles which are there, and we also have these two triangles here, of which in these two triangles here we have two angles which are equal to each other and the corresponding side. So in this case here we have, it's not the included angle, it's two angles in the triangles and also the corresponding side. So for this two triangles, they are also congruent to each other. So the very same way, check those two as well, of which we have two angles there which are equals to each other, and also the corresponding side on the triangle. So for the first one here, the reason for congruency in this case, it's side angle, and for this one here we have side angle. Oh sorry guys, this one is angle side. Okay, I'll just take this to erase. Angle side. So this is the first one where is, you can also say that it's AS. Write it as AS, knowing that this A here is two angles in the triangles which are also equals to each other. So this one here is angle side, and this one is angle side. Oh sorry guys, I also made a mistake here. Alright guys, so in this side here we have two triangles here, of which the first two triangles we have two angles which are equal to each other, and also the corresponding side. So the same happens with this one, these two triangles here, where we have two angles which are equal to each other, and also the one corresponding side. So the reason for this one, why they are congruent, it's either you can write it as side angle, or angle side, or you can write it as angle side, of which we know this will be 2. But then in the very same case where we have those two and also those two, if maybe you are given only these two here, for example, of which in this case we have two sides, and we have two angles and also the corresponding side. The very same thing here, we have two angles and the corresponding side. But these two triangles here, they're not congruent to each other. Reason why they are not congruent to each other is that the side are not equal. Reason being why they are not equal is because this side here, it's actually opposite to this side here, but then this side here is not opposite to that. So if maybe this angle was here, if it was the same as this, then they will be congruent. But in this case, the opposite angle to the side, they are not the same. That's why they are not congruent to each other. They can only be congruent if it's the same, the very same angles, and also the corresponding side. You must also check the opposite side to this, the opposite side to the angle on both the triangles. So this and that, they're not congruent to each other. It can only be these two and these two which are congruent to each other. Alright, then moving on to the last one, of which is this one, where we have a 90 degree. This is actually a right angle triangle because we have 90 degrees there. Then here we have, if you have a triangle which is a right angle triangle, and you have the hypotenuse are the same, and one side on the triangle is also the same. So it can be the adjacent side or the opposite side. If the hypotenuse is the same and the other side, one side on the triangle which are the same, it can be this, they are adjacent, or it can be the opposite. If they are the same, then that's a good reason that the angles, the triangle is hypotenuse. And reason why they are hypotenuse here, it's actually RH S, which is right angle hypotenuse, which is a right angle for R, and then for H is hypotenuse, and also the S is equals to its for side. So the reason for this is right angle hypotenuse side. Only if it's a right angle triangle and the hypotenuse is the same on both triangles, and another side on the triangle is the same. So even if it was okay, let's just write nicely here. Okay, if it was this triangle here and this triangle here, and we have 90, and we know that the hypotenuse is the same, and we have our opposite being the same. These two triangles here, they are congruent to each other for the reason right angle hypotenuse side. It can be the opposite or the adjacent is still the same, as long as it's 90 degrees and the hypotenuse for both triangles are the same. Alright, remember this, that you do not make a mistake finding that you have two angles and corresponding side, and even for the second triangle you have two angles and corresponding side. But if this side here is actually opposite to the angle, and this side here, which is the corresponding side, is not opposite to the angle, then they are not congruent to each other. They can only be congruent to each other. For example, these two, because it's two angles and the corresponding side. The corresponding side on these two triangles, both of them, it's not opposite to any angle, as you can see there. It's actually opposite to the unknown angle, which is right there. And then for this case here, the corresponding side here is actually opposite to the known angle, of which is one of the angles that you are using to prove that it's actually congruent. So these two sides here, they are opposite to it's opposite to that angle, and the other angle is not opposite to any side, as you can see. But then if they're just these two, they're not congruent. They can only be congruent if they are two and congruent. Though the reason for congruency for both the triangles is the same, is side angle angle, or angle angle side, or angle side. Alright guys, I hope you understood this lesson, and then in our next lesson we'll be doing example on congruency of triangles. Please do tune in so that you can understand how to apply this into solving questions regarding congruency in triangles. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Please don't forget to subscribe and also share this video with all your friends and loved ones that you know that they will need help when it comes to this area of mathematics. Alright, thank you.